days, Marco D'Amico from the top rope, hitting the elbow, hitting us with some huge trade rumors. Oh boy, you're going to want to strap in for this. Rare is it nowadays that we actually see a Vancouver and a Montreal trade idea that gets everybody out of their seats. Folks, we are not talking about Pavel freaking Zacha today. Let's go out there and leave a link in the description of this video to Marco D'Amico's piece yesterday on rg.org. Take a look at this. Teams are calling on Buffalo Sabres center Tage Thompson. However, the Sabres are not looking to make moves for now. This was published yesterday at noon. It was fact-checked by Quinn Allen, whom, I'm sorry, I kind of don't know who that is, but still, this was posted onto rg.org. The link is in the description if you want to go out there and read it yourself. Let's talk about Tage Thompson. Actually, you know what? Do we want to do that right now? Let's talk about Thompson specifically. Yeah, let's stall a little bit, just so Canadiens fans and Canucks fans who aren't aware of this player end up knowing who this guy is and why he could be a pretty significant add for either of these teams. Tage Thompson is 28 years old, 6'6", 220, right-handed center winger, whose contract at $7.14 million a year expires in 2030. He's a big boy, really big boy, and his shot is debatably, if not definitively, the hardest shot amongst forwards in the National Hockey League these days. Yeah, sorry, Ovi, you're still up there in our hearts, but Tage is a pure specimen of a man at this point. Tage Thompson has 12 points in 16 games this season, on pace for 62 points, 31 goals, and 31 assists is his projection, which would be a little bit of a step down because last year he did have 44 goals and 72 total points in 76 games played. His best season came in 22-23, where the then, how old was he? 1, 2, 3. He was 25 at that time. He had scored 94 points in 78 games, 47 goals, and 47 assists. Tage Thompson was just a behemoth, a David versus Goliath-esque character who could just chuck pucks towards the goal and just convert every time he got that chance. Near 50 goal scorer on Buffalo. Pretty hard to believe. But Tage, of course, is a very talented player. He's still one of the most interesting profiles in the National Hockey League with his size, with his mobility, with his extraordinarily hard shot. And we are now linking him to Montreal and Vancouver. Take a look at this. Marco D'Amico's piece says the Buffalo Sabres remain firm in their stance on Tage Thompson, with Kevyn Adams making clear the star forward is not available despite trade inquiries. Rival teams, including the Montreal Canadiens and Vancouver Canucks, have expressed interest as Buffalo continues to struggle in the East. Injuries and recent trades have put pressure on Adams, but the organization is holding off on major roster changes while relying on young players to spark a turnaround. Now, what exactly are those injuries? Well, I'd say the biggest one is Zach Benson. Yeah, he got hurt again, unfortunately. But let's go out there and read what this piece has to say. It says that Tage Thompson ain't on the block. Kevyn Adams doesn't want to trade him, but teams like Vancouver and Montreal have apparently expressed interest in getting him. Let's go out there and read. The article talks about Josh Norris, Jason Zucker, Yuri Kulich, all out long-term. Rasmus Dahlin is away from the team, and Zach Benson is banged up. Things don't look like they're getting better anytime soon. Yeah, okay, so maybe I stand corrected. Zach Benson is not the biggest one. Sorry, I just had him on my fantasy team, so he's the one that pops into my mind when I think Sabres and IR. Anyways, that said, there's still hope the club can turn it around on youngsters like Isaac Rosen, Noah Uslan, and Josh Doan's play. At least that's the party line being held by Kevyn Adams. The Sabres are last place in a hyper-competitive East with 14 points in 15 games. They're the only team in the East below 500. And yeah, we spoke about this yesterday, or not yesterday, literally in the previous video. Excuse me. But the Toronto Maple Leafs are second last, in the Eastern Conference, and they're a 500 team. They're 3 points out from a top 3 spot in the Atlantic, and they're second last in the East. That's how tight things are right now for the teams over there competing in that conference, and Buffalo is at the very bottom despite being just under 500. Contending teams that have gotten off to strong starts have begun making calls across the league to gauge what their rivals are planning, with American Thanksgiving period expecting to generate some trade activity. One name drawing the most curiosity is Tage Thompson. Several teams, including the Canucks and the Canadiens, have contacted Buffalo to inquire about the direction the Sabres plan to take with their star forward. According to a well-placed source, Adams' response has been consistent. Thompson ain't available at this time. The Sabres are reportedly looking to avoid any panic moves for now. With only a 5-team no-trade list, Buffalo could likely draw massive interest for Thompson if they ever decide to move him later this year or in the offseason. For now, though, the Sabres are not entertaining trade talks for Thompson. There then is a conversation at the bottom about making the right moves, but of course, the meat and potatoes of this trade update is that Vancouver and Montreal were calling, they are asking, they want this guy, they are making their rounds, and they're asking, which is good. Kent Hughes and Patrick Allvin, these two guys who share a very similar hairstyle, would not be doing their jobs if they weren't asking. But at the same time, you have to think, okay, if Buffalo is still trying to stick in it, which I totally understand them to do. Like, they're last in the East, yes, but they are just like 3-4 points out from actually being a competitive playoff making team. If you look at the standings and how they are right now, it's understandable to see them still want to be in it. But if they end up falling out, that's the big question. If Tage Thompson all of a sudden is in a spot where he's potting in goals left, right, and center still, he's got that impact, he's got that shot, if he's finding ways to be successful, and the Sabres are looking at that saying, yeah, no, maybe now is not our time. Do you go out there and consider making some sort of a move? Tage Thompson, by the way, as we mentioned, he's 28 years old, just turned 28, so he is in the prime of his career. If Buffalo wants to continue in the now, then okay, totally. All the power to you, go out there and do what you want to do. But if things get a little bit more dicey and vulnerable for this team, and the direction starts to get questioned a little bit, if there's a subtle nudge to get a little younger, who knows if Vancouver or Montreal could recircle and potentially get a guy like Tage Thompson. I'm saying this right here for Vancouver. Tage Thompson would automatically be number 1 center. Like, EP40 has been relatively better compared to last year, but still absolutely not at the caliber of play that an $11.6 million guy should be at. Tage Thompson, even if he's not a bona fide first-line guy, he is still more productive and he still has more shooting potential than Elias Pettersson does, which opens up more opportunities on the power play. Quinn Hughes has another really nice option to pass to, although it's not like he passes to Elias Pettersson on the man advantage anyway. Sorry. But yeah, Tage Thompson trade idea, man. Really, really interesting. Now, for what it's worth, there was a response posted by Renaud Lavoie on TVA Sports. He went out there and said that you can forget about the Montreal Canadiens and Tage Thompson. He ended up denying, or what's the proper word? Yeah, he denied a report published several hours earlier by Marco D'Amico. Lavoie corrected the record and suggested Canadiens fans shouldn't dwell too much on Tage Thompson. I'd say dreaming, but believing it could actually happen one day, no. There's been a lot of talk today that the Canadiens contacted the Sabres to see if Thompson was available. That's very surprising news, and I can tell you that's not the information I have on the matter. Thompson is like Dahlin. You could compare them to Suzuki and Hudson on the Canadiens, he stated. They're the backbone of the franchise. It's not true these players are available, and it's very rare that teams contact them to find out what's going on with them if they'd be available. Dylan Cousins is one thing, JJ Peterka is another, but we're talking about Tage Thompson, the cream of the crop. These guys aren't going anywhere. So, take that with a grain of salt, I guess. I mean, D'Amico said that the Canadiens called about it, not that they were actually close to getting it done, so guess it's all semantics, isn't it? Either way, though, if you're a Canadiens fan or a Canucks fan, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of Tage Thompson being a target for either of these teams? Seems like they are going out there and doing their due diligence, but I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments. How does that make you feel? And do you think it's the right move? I hope you enjoyed this video. 9, and bye.